while illegal aliens wreak havoc on our border and our cities devolve into criminal playgrounds, Biden and Harris, well, they're out there traveling the world. Joining me now, New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Congresswoman, great to see you. I want to start in your state if we can. Gun violence is surging 73% compared to last year, according to the NYPD. Judge Supreme Court Justice Dennis Boyle, appointed by Mike Bloomberg, released a reputed gangbanger who murdered an innocent father of two. Congresswoman, the wrong people are in charge of New York, and innocent Americans are paying a heavy price with their lives in some cases.
That's right. And it's not just the liberal judges that have been appointed. It is just radical changes that have taken place throughout the state of New York. The bail laws that Governor Cuomo and the state legislature have put in place. I mean, they were releasing everyone from people who committed homicide to felony drug dealers to those who commit manslaughter. We actually had to fight 7 months just to get those crimes back onto the list in which a judge can use discretion. But there are a whole slew of other crimes out there in which people are automatically released back into the street, regardless of their criminal history. And you find some of these individuals, including two homeless individuals who attacked Asian women in New York City. One had 77 prior arrests. The other had 40. And this just shows multiple failures on the part of, number one, the bail law, number two, Mayor de Blasio's Thrive NYC program, which was supposed to address mental illness, completely squandered, billions of dollars, this program run by his wife. But also, it is the thousands of individuals that the governor and the mayor released back onto our streets during COVID. It is the parole board appointed by Governor Cuomo that has released over 16 cop killers back onto our streets, plus other convicted murderers. It is the mayor taking away the plain clothes unit of the NYPD, which went after violence in New York City. So it's a combination of things. The defund the police movement, cutting $1 billion of the NYPD budget. If we unraveled and undid all these things that I've just mentioned, you would see crime lower in New York, and you would see public safety restored.
Well, sadly, left-wing lawlessness isn't confined to just to New York. It's responsible for multiple crises at the southern border. Isn't it rich that Harris and Biden, they create a disaster, and they both head out on foreign trips?
Well, no, you're absolutely right, and this is typical of liberal politicians. Mayor de Blasio created the disaster in New York City, and now he wants the ATF, the Federal Firearms Bureau, to come in and help. It's something that I've said should be done, but it's because Mayor de Blasio won't let the NYPD do their job. And you're seeing the same thing happen on the federal level. In fact, the policies that I've just discussed, they're introducing these policies at the federal level. And I've warned, this is what's happened to New York. Let's not do it to the rest of the country. New York City is a sanctuary city, as you know. New York State is a sanctuary state. And you're seeing people crossing the border. If you talk to Customs and Border Protection, Vice President Harris, you will find that they have identified people who are convicted felons that have been previously deported. There are sex offenders, registered sex offenders. There are also individuals who are on the terrorist watch list. They've created this crisis, and the cartels are profiting about $500 million a month. So it's a humanitarian crisis because people are being exploited and put into sex trafficking and child trafficking. And then you have all the other nefarious activities that are happening at the open parts of our border as CBP is being inundated with processing and overseeing people at facilities. Gun trafficking, drug trafficking, sex trafficking, all happening. And, this is the cartel planned it this way. They are creating this diversion so that way the CBP is not actually looking over the poorest parts of our border.
I know. Yeah, they're all turned into taxpayer-funded Uber drivers and babysitters. Today it was revealed that TikTok, Joe Biden undid all these restrictions on TikTok. And of course, the communist Chinese patted Biden on the head. They were so excited that he did this. And they said, well done, Mr. Biden. Most Americans want to hold communist China accountable for their actions, not only on their spying, not only on the virus, but sadly, a majority of socialist Democrats and Joe Biden, they're just busy left and right, mostly left, caving into the communists. Can the Republicans do anything to make sure that the socialists in our government don't let the communists over in Beijing off the hook?
Well, we are demanding, and Representative Scalise, myself, Jim Jordan, we have been pushing Speaker Pelosi, as well as the chairman of our COVID subcommittee, Majority Whip Clyburn, to hold a hearing. We want information. We want the facts. We want to know what the origins of this virus are. You know, we believe it is the lab. There's evidence that shows that, and we need to hold Communist China accountable. This was something that the president should have done when he wanted to re-enter, you know, the World Health Organization, which we are the biggest funder of. You know, he should be demanding answers and a real thorough investigation. This should be the top item on the G7 agenda this weekend. You know, America should be leading the way, but this is a virus that killed 4 million people, and so around the world. And so we need our international partners to also be demanding accountability and transparency, access to the lab results, lab records. Also, Iran. Look what he did today with Iran, lifting sanctions on some of the players there. So this is just another example of how this administration has been very weak on foreign policy, and they are giving away the store with concessions and getting nothing in return. And that is something that Obama did.
That's right.
And now we're seeing it as well with President Biden.
And Congresswoman, the individuals in Iran that Beijing, I'm sure with the praise of Beijing, because we know Russia and Iran and China are all part of this triumvirate against the United States. But what Joe Biden did to the Iranian people, there was 2 of them, if I believe, they're oil people. So here's Biden killing American energy, and he relieves sanctions. He did it for Russia first, and now he's doing it for the terrorist state of Iran as far as energy is concerned. But I want to pivot back to China if I can. Your colleague, Congressman Jason Smith, questioned acting OMB head Shalandra Young on whether Biden's budget proposal includes funding for research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Listen to this.
So let me ask you this. Can you commit that American dollars will never be used to fund such research going forward from this budget?
Congressman, I started my career at NIH. I would never, make that commitment as someone who believes we need to be led by science. And we certainly need to wait to this review before we jump to conclusions.
Congresswoman, who in the heck wrote this budget? Dr. Fauci?
I mean, it truly is unbelievable, and that is why we want the COVID subcommittee to focus on this. We should be bringing Dr. Fauci in. We should be bringing the executive of Echo Health in, which sent those contracts over to the Wuhan lab. We have to get answers to what exactly occurred here, what decisions led to this, and how did American dollars be used at that lab. And so I think this is something that, we're not going to let up on. I think the world community deserves answers, particularly 600,000 Americans that died right here. But I think that this is just another example, whether it's supporting Iran oil, supporting Russian oil, supporting India and China when it comes to, allowing them to do whatever they want in terms of climate and not leveling the playing field with the Paris Accord, or this, there's a lot of questions that Americans should be having on what's going on here when it comes to the president's international policies, and why is he not putting America first? Why are all these countries coming first under President Biden and Secretary Blinken?
Yep, it's the foreigners first, America last policies of the party in power with the full support of the press, sadly. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you very much. Always appreciate the time. Coming up, this Virginia mom is ripping